Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. What's going on, everyone? My name is Joseph Reynolds, and today joining me is a man that you should already know if you've watched any of the interviews before. We spoke to him in the past. Is Danny Farrell ahead of 2023? I'm sure you got a big year planned, but going forward, moving into 2023, how are you feeling for it, buddy?
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a big year. I had a big year last year. First title fights, 4 fights in the year, and I'm looking on making the same thing happening again. More title fights and more performances to be made.
Yeah, and obviously this year you was able to get you were able to get a good amount of experience in there, get quite a good few fights, good few rounds. But in terms of sort of reflecting on 2022, did the year go how you want, or was there certain things that you wanted to go your way but didn't? But in terms of just the year overall, what was that sort of like for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. It could have went better. I mean, I went 2-2 last year, and those 2 losses have been a big experience for me. Looking back at the Jimmy Sadiq fight and the Knight fight, there 2 fights that in my head I know I should have won. There was a lot of mistakes made, and it's just one of them. You slip up, and you if you're not in there in the fight, your head doesn't go in there. You make those mistakes, and it costs you it. And it's not until after it you sit back and you realise. But that's all part and part of being amateur, do you know what I mean? And that's why this year now we're looking on getting through these fights and hoping we don't make those same mistakes again. And at the back end of the year we'll be looking on going pro. But we'll just have to see how this year plays out. But compared to last year, it I definitely do wish it would have went better, but it is what it is. I still got 2 wins, and they were still 2 good wins. So yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you closed out the year with a win as well against Safi. But in terms, obviously, you come into that year with the momentum a little bit. You've got the win under there. In terms of sort of looking at 2023 and the goals that come into that year in terms of the fights and titles, you mentioned at the end of the year, looking into 2024, maybe going pro. But what are the sort of rough goals going into this year, obviously, with a little bit of momentum behind yourself?
I've got a few goals. Title fight. I'm looking forward to getting back on that road again. I'd love another title fight or 2 just to get the experience of having 5 rounds. As well as there's other little goals, achieve me purple belt towards the end of the year. They're things that I'm looking towards. And, hopefully my next fight, I'm going in for March 4th, I believe, UKFC. Getting back, just staying on the winning track. You know what I mean? Getting that win streak up and keeping it going and keep the momentum going. But there are a few personal goals, but apart from that, they're more so the public ones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then obviously in terms of obviously building this win streak and getting a few title fights under your belt, in terms of sort of looking at the division that there is at the moment, there's always new names that come in. It only takes 2 fights to sort of be recognised. But in terms of sort of looking at the position you're in now and getting these fights and getting these sort of opportunities, what have they sort of been like from maybe even looking back a year ago to now in terms of the opportunities that you have got the chance to take at the moment?
They've been a big difference, especially the opponents. The skill levels just keep on going up and up and up. Mo Safi was a very, very good opponent, and it was a fight that I knew was going to be a tough one. But for that in itself, as you mentioned, there's a lot of fighters coming through with the flyweights now. You can have someone who might be 1-0, 2-0, but they've been fighting a long time elsewhere, whether it's Thai or Jiu-Jitsu. So for opponents, I've got my eye open for a few fights for March. Christoph Grambo or whatever you say. I don't know how to say his second name. He'd be a fight, and that Jamie Abbott. I'm looking at their fights that I'm looking to have as well.
Yeah, and then obviously not only yourself, you're going to have a big year, but then you look at the whole Aspire as a team in sort of the year that they've got ahead. Already big things are happening. Obviously, Dean Garnett's returns this weekend in Paris. Yeah. You've got Liam McCracken now on Bellator Dublin, and then a load of other things going on. But in terms of sort of starting the year with all this stuff going on at Aspire, what's that sort of like being around the atmosphere and everyone being ready to go and pursue this year and see what they can get out of it?
Definitely a big push for the year. How else can you start the year off better with your head coach making his return over in Paris? 2 of the lads, Jack and Luke, they're fighting for titles. Liam's on Bellator, and many of the other lads like Marlon Hayder, Connor, McKay. I could keep going on for the amount of things that we're all looking forward towards. Connor's doing the IMAFs or Europeans, I believe, in June now. So there's a lot of stuff we've got planned, and it does help us all as a team. It keeps us motivated and keeps us going. But going into the fight at the start of the year, it's I think we're going to show a lot more. We're going to show bigger levels compared to last year.
And then as well, not only have you got the sort of fighting to focus on and work on as well, but you've also got your own personal training that you do and coaching. But in terms of taking a look at that aspect of the sport and sort of bringing some of that stuff over there into the fighting, what does that sort of do, playing hand in hand with each other, if they sort of do?
That's a good one, that, because like a lot of people think that when you fight and you're earning your money off that, but people go away and like, go and do the PTs and that, and with that, you actually find yourself like continuing to learn, because you've now got to take what you know over to somebody else, and it keeps your mind fresh. Basically, it keeps you on the ball with the things in case you're teaching something wrong. And sometimes a coach might come up and tell you, but it keeps you on the ball really. So it is a good thing to be on top of. I know when you're on your pro end of the side of things, you might drop off a little bit more because it's not your main focus no more. But at the minute, it's good for me to have on the side. Like I'm really enjoying the PT side of things.
Yeah, and when you are able to sort of have something like that, obviously, even turning pro and being on the regional scene for a while till you get signed, it's a hard sport to make anything really out of in terms of sustaining the career. But in terms of having those things where it makes you a little bit, you're able to sustain your sort of fight career as an amateur while still being focused on the sport. What's it like to have those sort of things that you can sort of fall back on a little bit to keep supporting your own career?
It's boss. It's boss to do. Anytime you're out of camp, you can up the numbers for PCs. I've got spaces there, so if anyone wants to jump on, then I've got a few spaces left, but I am quite booked up at the minute. But it's good to fall back on. It always is. Anytime you're not training, anytime you're out of camp, just whatnot, you've got those times to earn a bit of money and go and do your PTs. By all means, I'll take that. You know what I mean? It's having a good business mindset as well. So it doesn't just help you for taking in money. It helps with a lot of other things as well.
And then sort of just getting back on terms of this year, obviously, you mentioned getting into those title fights and getting the 5-round fights. I know you did have one early in the year with Aidan Knight, but in terms of obviously reflecting on that fight a little bit, but in terms of sort of looking at that fight and where you are now and knowing that you are sort of capable of being in those sort of fights, are those the sort of fights that you're looking for pretty much year round, or are you just seeing the sort of best offers that come through that you see that'll help you the best when making that transition to pro?
I'm definitely taking the best offers, like, whether that's opponents, title fights, whatever. But the way I see it, it's not going to be better to have a title fight for the experience, getting the rounds. I'd love to do the 5 rounds. That's one thing that I wish I would have done in the Aidan Knight fight. My mistake was just leaving my arm open, and wasn't until he caught it I was like, oh shit, he's got my arm, and it was a bit too late then. So with that being said, like, I'd take a very high level fight 3 rounds gladly. It's the opponent themselves, but the focus, I think, for the first half of the year will maybe be getting the skill level up with the fighters, and then maybe towards the summer, back end of the year, hopefully getting a little title shot, maybe once or twice. I'd like that, because I'm 5-3 now. I'm pretty well known across like the flyweight division. I'm sure anyone would be gladly accepting to fight me. But I've had two people turn me down already, which is a bad sign, but it's one of them.
Yeah, and obviously there's the rankings as well. I know some fighters don't really care too much about them, but in terms of sort of getting up those a little bit, does a part of yourself just want to sort of try and climb as high as you can in those, or is most of the focus just simply around the fights that you can get?
It's always about climbing the rankings. Like, you always want to be getting yourself up there, but I don't put it. I think a lot of fighters, I look around and I see a lot of fighters putting it at the main priority, and I think it's half a bit stupid to do it like that, especially at this level now. It's not really the main focus. So, as you said, it's more at the second side of it. You see a lot of these flyweights out here, like, fucking saying that this top ranked and top 5 in the country, and they fought no one. So it can be a bit like, it isn't really realistic at the minute. So I don't really put my mindset on the rankings, to be honest. It's not my biggest focus. I just fight the best, and if I beat them, I beat them. You know, I'm the better fighter, so it's one of them.
Yeah, and then just one of the final things for myself, obviously, looking ahead, I know you won't be overlooking this year or anything that's coming up, but in terms of when you do start to get to this level of your sort of amateur career, where you come to the latter stages, you know the pro scene isn't too far out of reach. In terms of sort of the goals that you might have for short term as a pro, long term, do they start to feel it makes it easier to envision almost, knowing that you're starting to get closer to those goals that you start to build up, knowing that you are now towards the latter stages of your amateur career?
Yeah, definitely, because you can see things taking place from the past as well. There was a time when I was like, my goal was to have my debut. Then it was my goal to have a certain amount of fights in a year. Then it was to have a title shot by a certain time, and to achieve all that in what, just over a year from last year. It pushed me on more to like motivate me to keep exceeding them goals. And this year I'm ready to do it again. I feel like every year I always I achieve more than what I actually put in my own mind. So obviously the experience with wins and losses can come, and it can have little setbacks, but I always seem to be able to bounce back bigger the next time, and that's a positive sign, definitely.
Yeah, and then you mentioned there in terms of obviously getting the wins and then the losses, but in terms of knowing that you've had those experiences where you might have fell short from a bout or lost a fight, and then being able to bounce back, in terms of getting these experiences as an amateur as opposed to going unbeaten as an amateur, turning pro, and then it's bearing a loss. What's it like to get these sort of experiences in now, fighting under different rules, sort of different goals as well in terms of title fight, non-title fight, then win or lose? But what's it like to have those sort of experiences under your belt already?
It's good. Like, I mean, you can't not say it. I mean, it is shit. It's horrible getting beat. You know what I mean? It's if I was to be like, if I would wish to be undefeated, and there are a lot of people who are, and some people never experience loss, but it's one of them things, you know, it's most the common thing in MMA, and a lot of people can have that mindset of being untouchable, and I do believe that you've got to have that mindset, but realistically, to have those experiences already, it's better going into the pro ranks. It's better going on to the back end of your amateur career, because you've experienced so much that you know how to deal with certain situations where if you're undefeated, okay, you might be untouchable, you might be the best, but you get put in a bad situation, you might lose your head a little bit because you've never experienced it before. So they're the little things that can, like, the positive and negative part of being undefeated and having a few losses. So there are like bad and good things for it.
Yeah, and then just a final thing from myself. Obviously, I've already spoke a little bit about the year, but in terms of, for those people that may not have heard the name just yet, in terms of looking ahead at this year, what is it that they can expect to see from yourself going into this year?
Winning titles and enjoying what I have at the minute. Everything's going really well, so I'm expecting some titles to be wrapped around my waist, some more wins, and then just positive things throughout the year.
Well, that is everything from myself. Just like to take a chance, shiny sponsors, socials, anything like that. Obviously, just feel
just
free
a
to
big
go ahead,
thank you to Belmont Tires. There's quite a few here. I've picked up a few. Tunnel Vision, Hidden Corner, Fancy Dress. The recovery room always sorts me out every week after a hard week of training. You've got Aspire, Combat Base, Liverpool, Phil Turner, all my head coaches, all my teammates as well. I just want to say a big thank you as well for the past year and going into this year. If I've missed anyone else, I apologise. There's definitely a few more though.
Well, that is everything for myself. As mentioned, keep your eyes on Danny Farrell ahead of this year and Aspire in general and UK MMA in general. If you're not, you're missing out. But I appreciate your time today, buddy. Thank you very much.
Nice one, mate. Appreciate it.
You too.
See you
Bye-bye,
later.
buddy.
Bye.
So that.